The thing that I think is so frustrating is you hear these phrases that people give you when they're trying to give you some feedback. They'll say something like, oh, you're not strategic enough. Or, like if you're in a group, they're like, I'm doing all the work. What are you doing? Here's one that I don't like, Patti. It's like, and I've tried to get people not to use it. It's like, you lack executive presence.
Oh, classic.
Have you ever heard?
100 times.
Right? And then you have this thing where like, you should talk more. Actually, you should talk less. What does any of that mean? We get feedback that it's just fuzzy. We don't know what to do with it, So listeners, welcome to Aren't You Tired Of? This is our podcast about what we're tired of and what we want to do about it, to fix it. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Benton, and I'm here with
Patti Johnson, co-host.
Yeah. And so today we're talking about something that I hear all the time from friends and colleagues. And honestly, it's what keeps me busy.
Sure.
Right? It keeps me busy. And it's people are tired of getting feedback that sounds important, but it says nothing. And this could be feedback, not just in the workplace, but this could be when you're on committee or you're on a project, team where, it's a group of equals, right? But there's a grievance. There's something that has to be solved. And, it's just really hard sometimes to, sit there and hear something from someone, but you don't really understand it.
And I think our goal today is to say, understand it. Take the time. A lot of times if you get feedback, you kind of walk away. I'm like, what the heck was that? And so one part of what we want to say today is understand the feedback. Doesn't mean you're signing up for it. Doesn't mean you agree with every bit of it. Doesn't mean you don't see it differently.
That's right.
But
That's right.
Understand it. Ask the questions to be sure you understand it.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. There's a lot when we were talking about, this as a episode. Feedback is a broad topic.
Yes,
there's the giving of feedback, there's the receiving of it, there's the making sure understanding it. So, listeners, what we want to accomplish, as Patti said, is for those of you that have ever been in that seat where you received some kind of guidance or instruction or feedback on do different. I want you to do different, or I have to bring this up. We want you to be able to be in a space where you could say, okay, wait a minute, let me make sure I understand that. But one of the things I hear, like I said, from friends and colleagues, and like I said, it keeps me busy. Why, Patti, do you think people are not good at like talking straight and just like, this is what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do they talk around it? And
well, I think the big backdrop is, and again, if you're on the receiving end of feedback and you're like, I don't know what to do with this, people are horrible at giving feedback.
Terrible.
Yeah. I think so many leaders who are really good, really experienced, really senior, even that group, struggle with giving feedback. And I think, I think there's a lot of mind blocks that go on there. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. And I think one of the mantras you and I have talked about forever is that, giving good feedback is kind. It helps people grow. And so as a receiver, you've got to have that mindset too. How can you help me? I want that feedback. I want to help me, be better.
Yeah. I think that's right. One of the things, and maybe some of our listeners will, resonate with this. It'll resonate with them rather. But it's like, it's uncomfortable to get into the conflict, right? It's uncomfortable to do that. They'll believe they would come across mean. I remember there was a time in my career where I was, still growing in my career, and I was in a role that I was supporting a organization, and it was like a commercial organization. So it was marketers and salespeople, and any of you that are salespeople or marketers out there, or you've ever supported those groups, they got a mind of their own. They're out there, they're reaching the goals, they're doing dynamic things. The energy is really big. And so a lot of times I was having to coach and give them alternative thoughts on how to show up and behave. And I was always hesitant because sometimes it was hard feedback. It was hard, like behavior, character stuff.
Right.
And I always felt like, how can I do this and not come across mean?
Yeah. Well, I also think related to what you're touching on here is how many times have I said to people, you think you're making it easier for yourself at the moment? I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kick it down the road.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's about you kick down the road. About 2 months later, it's going to be a lot worse and a lot harder than it is right now.
It's going to be worse.
So deal with it. Be frank. Give the feedback.
Yeah.
So, I know we're talking about people about receiving it, but I think what you're calling out is just understand there are some reasons why it might be hard when it's coming at you.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, and I think that's one of the reasons why when we talk about, you're having to read between the lines in feedback, understand it's not easy for people. I think it is truly a gift and a skill to give good feedback. But a lot of times, I think the other thing we have to think about is in a professional setting, sometimes the feedback and the language that people use, it's coded language. Like, I kind of started out when we were talking about you're not strategic enough or you lack executive presence. That's coded language sometimes for really deeper things.
Definitely.
That the feedback giver or, people in authority are noticing or observing that it's really too hard for them to kind of say.
Yeah, definitely. Boy, there are a lot of undercurrents. And I think if you're trying to understand the feedback, you can't, I've been in situations where you don't look like the other leaders. Or about coded language.
Yeah.
Or you are different than the other leaders. So you have to understand, you can't toss the feedback because of that.
Yeah.
You still got to, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does it look like, that executive presence?
We'll say more about that because you were saying you can't toss the feedback, meaning you can't discount it because what I'm picking up is you're saying there could be something in there.
Maybe. You can't disregard. I think our theme is on feedback. Understand it. What are you trying to say to me?
Yeah.
Whether you are my boss, you are my colleague, you are my friend, you are my brother.
Yep.
What are you trying to say to me? And you need to understand it. I also think related to that, if you are someone who, how long has it been since you've had some feedback? If you haven't had any feedback, that's also concerning.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Are you not asking for it? Are you not?
That's true.
So I think, you've got to seek out that interest and understanding how you show up.
Yeah. The self-awareness. I've always said, and maybe this will be one of those other books I'm going to write one day, and it's self-awareness, the greatest gift you can give yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100% on every topic we talk about almost. That's
the
like step
gift.
one.
Yeah.
Step one.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, the thing that I think would keep any of us busy that work in, in the spaces that we're in where there's coaching and, talent and human resources support, and strategy. We're always talking about a conversation that needs to be had, the leadership moment that needs to be said. And a lot of times we're only as good as what we know. You can't be what you can't see. Yeah. And so, in order to show up well. And so I think, what are some ways, or we can talk about, and I want to get your thoughts about some ways and techniques and tools, maybe we could even call them, that can be used if you are the receiver of feedback and you're like, I don't know what this means. Or you might not agree with it, but how do you stay curious a little longer?
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think when you're the receiver of feedback, before that you get defensive, before you get, that's not right.
Yeah.
Don't go there yet.
Yeah.
Try to take it in and listen and then decide and ask questions. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. I know, what would it look like if I were showing more executive presence? What would that look like?
Yeah, you're absolutely hitting on it. I think we have listeners out there that either they've received some of this vague feedback, they get it all the time. They're not quite sure how to ask because they don't want to come across as seeming difficult.
For sure.
Okay, or they don't want to sometimes you get the feedback and you're just kind of reeling from it. You're like, I don't even know where that's coming from, right? So that's what we're talking about. I think one of the keys of success in really navigating this receiving of feedback is to stay curious a little bit longer.
Yes.
Like it may inflame you, let's be real, like when you hear it, but like get yourself to a point where like, let me understand more, right? So here's a couple of things and tools that I want to run by you.
Yeah,
I want to see what you think. Okay. So one of the things that I have tried before is the clarifying question. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's, teaching the feedback giver to respond in the moment. So this is, you hear it and you want them to respond in the moment by saying more. So you might say something like, I want to understand what you're seeing. Can you give me a specific example of when that showed up? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that one? I see you laughing and giggling.
Well, we talked a little bit about the specific example. Yeah. The times I've seen this one, I feel like you got to be, your wording matters because you can put somebody on their back foot because you're going, I need a date. When did that happen? How did that? If your goal is, I need to better understand it. Yeah. When did this happen? And so I think that wording of giving me a specific example,
I need to know specifically when it happened.
When was it?
Where was I? Where were you?
And what was I doing? I think that's a little bit, my opinion is, sometimes I can be too, maybe too soft pedaling. Yeah. But I would probably not put you on the defensive and ask it quite that way. Yeah. I would sort of say, let's talk about, what would it look like if I were doing that? Tell me how you think that meeting that we had 2 weeks ago. Can you tell me about that? What were your thoughts? I think you don't want to use language that puts the person as I'm doing the challenge. I'm not trying to understand. I'm putting you on challenge.
Yes.
And I
prove
it. And I think that the language you choose needs to be, I want to understand you. I am listening to you. That's my goal in asking these questions. Yeah. Not, Mark, come on. Yeah. I'm putting you on notice because that's not what happened.
That's not me. I didn't do that.
I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. So that's my take.
All right. No, I like that one. That's good.
You got to be a little.
That's good.
Little finesse.
That's good because I think our listeners, some of them may have tried that one. And gotten to that place where it's like, oh, well, I don't know why I was just asking what they thought and give me an example. But it can code that way. Yeah. Right?
It can.
Okay. Speaking of coded language.
Yes.
Here's another one. The translation ask. So this is used when language is coded or real vague. When you say executive presence, what behavior would I demonstrate differently in the moment? What do you think about that one?
It could be. I think, what does executive presence look like to you? Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Because that is a loaded word, as we've talked a million times, just like, being more strategic. Well, executive presence sometimes means you don't speak up in meetings. It could be also, I do think, if it is coded, and it is because you are the other, you and I use that term a lot. You're not like all the other leaders. You don't look like them. You don't act like them. Whatever it is, you're trying to tease it out. What does that look like? And sometimes it can be enlightening for the person to realize, well, actually, maybe I need to rethink that a little bit. But you're trying to understand, what is it how do you see executive presence? Because a lot of people, like if you and I, that topic, if you and I, we talked to 8 of our colleagues, everybody would describe it a little bit differently. Yeah. So what are you looking for? What do you see from me that would really help me take myself to the next game?
And that is still good because per the tool, you are getting them to translate it in how they see it.
Right.
One other thought that's coming to my mind is you could ask the person that gave you that feedback, right? You could ask another person and then kind of triangulate it, right? Okay, so executive presence looks like this, because I agree. I think people use it a lot. In the environments that I'm in, I have kindly said, let's not normalize executive presence.
I totally agree with you.
Because it drives people nuts.
It is a label that is wildly misunderstood, and everybody has a different definition. I'm not a fan of executive presence, that term.
I've actually reversed it. You know, like, you can take a word sometimes and make it your own, right? And I have said, I'm not going to that meeting because I don't think I have the executive presence to sit through it.
There you go.
I've put it back on myself, right?
I cannot behave
right.
I
did not have the executive presence
to be able to suffer through it.
Through that meeting.
That's pretty good.
So yeah. Okay. So here's another one.
Yep.
This is the forward focused pattern check. So you're looking for a pattern. Is this a pattern? And then you're kind of, what would I do in the future? So this is shifting from the defensive to the offensive. And you have to avoid overreacting, right? Sure. So what you would say is this something you've seen me do consistently? What's something I could do different to have the intended impact?
Yeah.
Right. So you're kind of asking for the pattern, and have you seen me do this a lot? And then what could I do differently for the intended impact?
Right. As a partner in my growth and helping me develop and be better, what can I do that will help me be able to demonstrate that more? Again, we're not doing yet. We're not deciding what to do, what the action is yet.
Right. We're
listening.
Understand.
I'm trying to understand. And I think too, let's anchor back. We said at the beginning, people are not good at giving feedback.
Yeah.
And these examples you're giving, they're people who are not really probably bringing their A game. Yeah. Either because they don't want to or they don't know how. One of the two. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But so I think you got to tease that out. I think I'll just say that. I think that you need to understand that you're going to have to ask some questions to better understand.
I agree. And these tools, it was the clarifying question, the translation ask, and then the forward focused pattern check. All of them are really just tools. You have to make them your own. But what you're trying to do is in the moment, right? When the feedback is fresh, it's how do I pull down the things that might be important for me to know and see. So you can use these to help decode the vagueness. Getting the straight talk can be difficult from people. And we talked about it. But it's also about you being accountable for your own development.
Totally. Right. Totally. I don't know if this is the right time to mention it, but 2 other thoughts, Mark, related to this. Sometimes feedback is not, and you're giving examples of people who aren't giving fuzzy. Sometimes fuzzy is a raised eyebrow, a sigh.
Yeah. It's a look.
A look that I can tell because I know you. I can tell, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a frustration there.
Yeah.
There's a concern there, and he's not saying it.
Right.
You still need to ask the clarifying question.
Right. You sound like my father. It was a raised eyebrow. It was a sigh.
Oh,
it was body language.
Oh, big time. And I think
he was saying a lot.
Yes.
Sometimes with that.
I think that's true
at
work. Certainly true outside work.
Yeah.
And then you got to decide. Yeah. Do I want to know more about the raised eyebrow?
Right.
Or do I not?
Yeah.
And so I think some of these same questions you're asking, even though they aren't words, it's fine to say, Mark, I'm sensing that you're having some reaction. You're having don't label it. What are your thoughts about how this thing went, this project went? Because I'm feeling like you have some thoughts.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I really like that point. It's really impactful because, it doesn't even have to be words. If you are watching and you're reading the room, right, like some of us do, right, it's like, oh, that's not landing well, or I'm not landing well. Now, I'll admit I'm probably oversensitive. I'm just looking to be like, how is it landing and what's happening? Is everybody good? But some people just aren't that observant. And so they're missing the cues.
Back to, if you're not getting any feedback.
If you're not getting any feedback, that's feedback.
Why? Also, likewise, let's talk about a couple of circumstances where you're not getting feedback.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want feedback. I'm new in this role. I've been in this role for 3 or 4 months. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Ask these same questions.
Yep.
Ask. Or how many times have we laughed about the more senior you get, no feedback.
Right.
I mean,
oh yeah,
you're not getting it.
Right. The more senior you are, leaders just expect you to do the thing.
Yes. You can do the thing, and that's what it is. And so I think that is, so if you are feeling a need for it, even though maybe it's not common, it's not caused by what someone else said or did to you.
Right.
It's that you need it.
Yeah.
Ask some of these same questions.
Yeah, you can still ask. Hey, in this meeting, my goal is to show up this way. This is my intention. Yeah. I'd love to get some thoughts from you on how I'm doing.
Absolutely. Take control. Back to take control of your own development.
Right.
That's one of the ways you do it. You're not dependent upon what other people are doing and saying. You're taking ownership for what you need.
Yeah. So if you're getting the feedback, right, and you're doing some of these things to clarify the feedback, what do we do with it? So like I've clarified it, maybe it was vague, but now I've done the thing to figure out, okay, that's what you're talking about. Then what do I do with it?
Yeah.
I
think two things. One, I think I've heard you. I've listened to you. I'm not judging. I'm not evaluating. I've heard you. I've stayed curious. I'm listening to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've done that. You're the receiver of the feedback.
Right. I'm
That's
a receiver,
how you are.
and I'm taking that in.
Yeah.
Then I think two other things. One, I think you can look at other information that needs to go in to be stirred into the pot. It could be sales data. It could be client feedback. It could be on a friend basis. Like, well, I'm asking this friend to do stuff all the time, but it never reciprocates. I'm on the committee, like you talked about. You're on in college.
Right.
You're on the committee.
Yeah.
Why are two of you doing all the work and three are never even coming to the meetings?
Right.
Is the data? What's the data telling you? What's the information telling you? I think that's another thing. Then I think you got to decide, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah.
Do I want to act on it? Do I not? That's the next step. Now that I understand you, what do I do with it?
It's interesting because I think some people, myself included, the amount of energy I put into incorporating the feedback and doing something with it is related to my respect for you as the feedback giver. And I've encountered many situations where somebody has received feedback from someone and they're like, I don't trust it.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. And there's many, we don't have time to get into all those dynamics, but that's really key. And so I'm interested in your thoughts around that, like it's okay, who's giving me the feedback? Okay. I've done the thing to clarify it. That's the other thing. It could be true. It could be something you really need to hear. So don't just discount it because this is someone I don't really trust.
Right.
Necessarily. What's their proven track record? Yeah. Right. So-and-so might be hard or they might be this way, but actually they're not wrong.
See, I think, yes. And I think what you assess the feedback that you have gotten is so important. And I think in the majority of cases, you're going to take the feedback, like we talked about, we're going to listen and you're going to have a growth mindset of, I'm going to make the adjustments and adapt, especially if I work for you and I know that's a part of being successful here, I'm probably going to need to do that. So that's one. There are a few outliers though. And you think about, how many times, look at so many entertainers out there. They've been wild. Lady Gaga, rejected 7 times. L.A. Reid, she was signed by Def Jam Records for 4 months. And they dropped her because L.A. Reid said, too boring.
Too boring.
And of course, she's too boring. Yeah. Her voice was too boring. Well, he goes on Hill now. He's interviewed. He's like he's a big time producer for Def Jam. He's like probably the biggest career mistake I have ever made. Oh yeah. Okay. Had she listened to him, that's right, she wouldn't have gone on to be Lady Gaga. Olivia Dean, who's fantastic right now. I'm a huge Olivia Dean fan. She is counter to, her music is not based on what everybody else is doing, even though she was told you need to be more like ABC. She followed her own path. So those are big entertainer examples, but I think you also have to have some discretion to know, is this feedback helping me be who I want to be? Yeah. And like if it's an organization, you might not be in the organization you want to be in. I think we can think of organization feedback that I know I can. Yes. Like, maybe that's not maybe I'm not a good fit here.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll invite you to think through maybe an example if you're willing to share. But when you talk about you receive feedback that doesn't feel congruent, it doesn't feel like, where is this coming from? So I was a part of an organization and I got feedback, that I was coming across as not a good team player, that I was, kind of out for myself and some of those things. And what ultimately, I'm truncating the story, but ultimately what I had the aha moment on, because I started talking to people that knew me, is, it was an assessment and all these things, right? You get, and I gave it to them. I said, I'm just really confused by this because I've never gotten this feedback before. I was going to say,
that's not you.
Right,
not you.
Right. I've never gotten this feedback before. Well, what happened was the environment that I was in, that was a system. That was a culture.
I've seen it myself as well.
You don't call, people's projects, quote unquote, their babies. Don't call them ugly. You're kind. You're nice. And I had come from an environment where you direct, you say what you mean, feedback in the moment. And you got rewarded for being in that culture. And so when you come to a different culture that's not like that, those individuals will start to code for you what that looks like in their environment. And so what I had to do, and it took me a minute, but I had to step back and I had to personally think, what in this feedback that I'm getting do I need to incorporate, right? And some of it was vague and it was coded. And I was like, I don't understand any of this, right? And it took me a minute, but I had to keep seeking. And one of the things I'll say about that I'm actually proud of is that I didn't discount it because by incorporating it, it allowed me to navigate a totally different environment. And when I go into a different environment, I'm seeking like what's going on here? What's happening here?
Yeah.
Have you ever had or maybe coached someone that's
we've talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
I think I have. And I think you and I both, in the Accenture culture, you had a point of view.
Yeah.
You said what you thought.
Yeah.
You were expected to. If you were in a meeting, you didn't just sit there. You were there with purpose.
Right.
That was expected. I've had exposure to another organization where someone who had an opinion, too outspoken. Someone who didn't agree with what the bossy boss, instead of being able to say, well, you might think about that was bad. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So I think that is you have to decide, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah. So, I think that's really real. And I think if, you're a listener out there listening to this conversation and you're getting feedback or, you've received feedback and it's rolling in your head and you're like, I've not gotten this before, or maybe you've gotten it, and listener, I would challenge you, is it true?
Is it true?
Is it true? Right? And you just need to step back and say, okay, what then do I want to do about it? And so I think that's what you were saying is I'm who I am. This is who I've been. Right. And maybe this isn't the right environment for me to be in, no matter what it is, work, committee, a part of this project, that thing. It may not be the right place for you, because you're having to maybe change too much to fit in. And is that cost something you're willing to bear? Right.
I think that's a key question in terms of the action.
Yeah.
Probably the exception, but there might be situations where you're like, you know what? This is not the right fit for me.
Yeah.
And now I got to decide what I want to do about it. Like you said, do I want to adapt and conform? Do I want to go, maybe I need to be in another spot?
Yeah.
Hopefully most of the feedback we're talking about is feedback that you need to understand. Doesn't mean you always are doing a full, adapt to it, but you must, we're encouraging you understand when people are giving you feedback. What are they saying to you? Ask for it.
Right.
Seek it out. And then, stay curious. What does this mean for me?
Yeah, what does it mean?
What does it mean?
I think so. I mean, we're all tired of reading between the lines, right?
We are.
And trying to, just, can you talk straight?
Yeah.
Just talk straight to me. And like, what is it? But I think one of my takeaways, I'm going to ask you about yours, is give some grace to the person that is giving you the feedback. If you feel like it's warranted, right? Like, sometimes you're like, I'm getting feedback from so-and-so and, I really don't want to hear it. But if it is someone who, and they most likely are coming from a good place, like give them some grace and let it get out there and stay curious. So that's a big takeaway for me. What about for you?
I think don't judge and evaluate. Take feedback, look for it, stay curious, learn, look at it as a growth opportunity for yourself. I think also don't take just the words. What are the words saying to you? What is other information? You gave the example in your situation of, wait, I had to validate with some other people. Take it in and don't just rely just on the words. And I think ask the question at the time. Ask for clarification. Being willing to think on your feet a little bit, because it's much harder if you give me feedback and I stew, and then I come back 2 weeks later.
Right.
Hey, Mark, remember when you made that one sentence?
Right.
What was that about?
Yeah.
So I think that act on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask the questions you need to ask.
Ask the questions.
The time.
Right. Because I think we all deserve to have someone, talk straight, in order for us to understand what we need to do differently. Yeah. If anything. And so I think that's the main takeaway, from all of this, stay curious, listen, be self-aware, right?
Yeah. Listening and asking questions shows that you care.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And, I think there's an episode right on the giving of feedback, and
we'll do that.
We should. And giving feedback also should come from a place of care.
Absolutely.
Now, we know sometimes it is not.
Doesn't always.
But it should come from a place of care, really. You know? Yeah.
And we're saying take personal responsibility and accountability for the feedback you get, you don't get, you don't understand.
That's right.
Take ownership for it.
That's right.
For sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're probably at our time, and I'm pretty proud of this conversation.
Yeah. Good conversation.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. But listeners, we hope that, you enjoy this conversation, and, if it's of use to you, we invite you to not only, listen, but, also share it, with others. If you haven't, and this is your first time to hear, an Aren't You Tired Of podcast, we invite you to subscribe. And you can catch us where, Patti?
Catch us on Apple and on Spotify.
Yep.
And you can send questions in at podcast at Patti B. Johnson. You can message either of us on LinkedIn as a great way to do it as well. Send your questions, send comments, suggestions. We've been getting also some great suggestions on topics,
we have,
which is super helpful. So we love hearing from you guys.
Yeah. You can also join our Aren't You Tired Of community on Instagram, and that's at Aren't You Tired Of _social.
Yes.
So
yeah,
we hope you join us
all
there. So thanks. We hope that you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Have a great week.